Can't believe I tweeted saying this game was good and then put it on my YouTube community post saying this game was good. I made Suicide Squad my 506th Platinum Trophy, and it has been a real up and down experience. And even after beating the game and earning the Platinum Trophy, I'm still not sure about it. From a buggy start to a community filled with toxic fans, outraged to levels unequal to The Last of Us Part 2. But also combined with some of the most fun I've had in a game with friends. I'm still so confused about whether I even like this game, let alone if I could recommend it. The reviews have been pretty mediocre so far, and I can only imagine it isn't going down well at the Rocksteady studio. I am hoping that as we make our way through this video, my opinion of the game and Platinum Trophy will form. You're going to see a range of emotions from me, and you'll definitely see me descend into a black abyss by the end. Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in for the wild journey with Suicide Squad's Platinum Trophy.
You tell me where we start, where we're going afterwards.
Pick some brightness, and let's rock and roll, bitches.
Metropolis. It's the little things that really change a city's vibe.
First things first, the tutorial, which is very much required due to all the mechanics going on. And we start with Deadshot and get a taste of his traversal. This world's pretty destroyed. He's got a jetpack. Oh, that is cool. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Now that is some traversal that Gotham Knights desperately needed. Alright, let's rock and roll. Let's get some. Ugh. Oh, okay. Right, that's... I'm hovering! Look at me go, Dad! Then we move on to Big Boy King Shark. Alright, I'm Big Boy Shark. Look at this unit. And he's wearing a sick vest as well. It was then time to meet my favourite of the team.
Presenting the one, the only, Captain Boomerang!
Look at him. Look at that smile. This guy's a good time. He's one of those characters that you know was a product of his time back when comics were a lot less serious, and whenever you put these types of characters into a modern setting, they only work when their behaviour is as stupid as their name and power, which he is.
More like annoy man, am I right?
Uh-oh. The Speed Force! Boomerang utilises the Speed Force gauntlet to traverse around, and while not quite as fast as Deadshot, it sure is fun. And then it was the final character, good old Harley Quinn.
Could be worse. I could be like Boomer.
Don't ever be a boomer. And we are Harley, babe. What's her traversal? I'm judging everyone purely by their traversal. Swing. Interesting. Harley's traversal feels right out of the Arkham series, using grapple hooks and a flying bat drone. While the tutorial was a good introduction to the game, after playing this game for hours, I can't help but notice that they just used the end game grind levels as a base for the tutorial, which meant the corner cutting was already present even though I didn't realise it at the time. But with that being said, it was time for the first trophy in the game. Trial by fire! What the hell just happened? I don't know. Next it was time for the Suicide Squad origin. Personally, with all the superhero films, remakes of superhero films, reboots of superhero films, I am quite sick of origin stories for these types of characters. But if you don't know anything about the characters, it's not that bad. So the gang are using the Hall of Justice as their base of operations, and it shows them picking up the equipment they're going to be using in the game mainly for their traversal.
You found the Riddler's hat of invisibility!
Whoa, he's invisible! And I get a trophy for it. Oh, another trophy! Steal some stuff. Let's get them, boys and girls. Alright, so with all the fluff done, it was time to attempt the first mission. Please pay attention to how I phrased that. This is interesting. They just stood doing nothing. Oh dear, they're not attacking me. They just stood there. Oh no. That's not a good start. It's my first actual level. And I just stood doing nothing. Oh dear. Hey guys.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Oh, I'll just kill the inanimate objects because apparently the game doesn't want to work. Oh, Rocksteady. I had so much faith. I'm keeping the faith for now, but still. Come on. This is Green Lantern, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, this is Green Lantern. It's got... Ah, here he is.
It's the Green Lantern, coming to
our aid.
I don't think he's going to help us. So we then meet our first corrupted Justice League member, Green Lantern. And I can think of 2 different versions of Green Lantern that I actually prefer.
Not bad, huh?
So we get a lovely tour of the city while he shows us how Brainiac has been corrupting everybody and killing everyone. It's pretty dark. They clearly aren't themselves, and it's incredibly clear that these powerful supes need to die, otherwise no one would stand a chance. But not all of them are corrupted. Sadly, I can't say the same for my game. Ourselves are currently in maintenance mode. This is meant to be early access. What the fuck? Oh my god. The idea that I had to pay an extra £30 for this, okay, so I paid £100, which almost fucking killed me. I was like, I don't even want to pay £70 for the game, but you know, YouTube thanks, and I was like, 3 days early access, that's pretty good, I'll be able to get a head start on the game, and I played the game for an hour, not even that, 40 minutes, and I have now been kicked out because servers are down. So yeah, I was pretty miffed at this point, and I really want to share my whole experience of this game because it actually extends beyond playing the game. So after the crash, being the sweaty little incel I am, I took to Twitter where Rocksteady had posted an update about the maintenance. I do understand that this is part of an early access game, but let's not confuse the early access in this game with the traditional form of early access. You do expect issues with early access when the release date for a game hasn't been announced or you expect it to be over a year away, but this was 3 days from its official launch, and the game was broken to the point where it had to be taken offline. These issues really should have been ironed out, but it's clear, due to Rocksteady not testing their live service systems before launch, it wasn't.
Online games are hard, they can have some nasty issues. I read on the internet that our games have had a few bugs. I read it on the internet, so it's true.
Okay, I'm ranting, but I felt like I had a leg to stand on here, so I tweeted a somewhat disappointed tweet towards them, and I think you can sense my frustration in this comment, but what can I say, I was hyped and I was annoyed.
I'm not listening to you, you're crazy.
Obviously, they didn't reply, but some people did. Considering the amount of hate this game has received, I assumed it would be people laughing at me for even buying the game, but it wasn't. It was people defending the servers being down. So yeah, it turns out there's not only toxic fans against the game, apparently there's toxic fans who love the game so much that they'll sit in the game's Twitter account ready to defend it even when they probably hadn't even played it at this point. The discourse for this game is just so weird. To be fair, it was only down for 2 hours and then was back on, and Rocksteady did give all the players with early access some in-game currency, so I got to buy a dance emote, so I guess I am going to forgive them.
Train every day to fight against crime.
Suicide is badass.
Now obviously this game is meant to be played with friends, so I invited DC Soyboy Zach from the Trophy Hunting YouTube channel ZXL to play with me. Why? Even after the forced update, the first mission still didn't work and the enemies were still just standing there. It's doing the same right now. None of them are shooting us. It's happening again. Is that happening for your screen? They just stood there doing fucking nothing. Clearly the gameplay isn't what they were trying to fix. But back to Green Lantern, and I can't ignore how beautiful the game is, and the world building on display in these cutscenes is just excellent. Shit! Shit! And we are finally introduced to Kevin Conroy's final game outing as Batman, and my god is he scary in this game. Oh dear, here he is. Kevin Conroy. We find ourselves in a pitch black room while Batman hunts us, kind of like the reverse of Arkham. And I tell you what, I was pretty scared. And for a moment I completely forgot about any of the gadgets from the previous games. Ooh, what's this? A little bat sign on the floor. Is that a bomb? It's ice! There it was. Yeah, I just walked straight away. It was actually like the cryo bomb as well from the Batman Arkham series. He's got us! Oh! I think he just fucking killed me. Oh no! Oh! Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty taken back by the brutality of this Batman. So it's clear that the Suicide Squad couldn't beat Batman, let alone the rest of the Justice League, without help. So my next trophy was for recruiting our first support team member, who just so happens to be the Penguin.
Shut down the Terminaut incubators at Central Station, TFX.
He provides you with new weapons and gear as you progress through his support missions, and is trophy tied to completing each of the support squad missions. Alongside the traversal and gunplay, since Rocksteady loved the Batmobile so much, they added a vehicle to this game which drops down in certain missions. We're gonna kill him with a... Oh, it just vanished. What the fuck? Oh, it came back. Oh my god.
I drive.
Oh, I just got out by mistake. Shit! Now the vehicles actually are quite fun, but the problem is they're only available in a handful of missions. Like, I'm talking a fraction, and it seems like a waste that you can't use it in open play. The vehicles' health drains over time and they only last about 30 to 60 seconds, so I don't really understand why you couldn't call them down when in free roam or go back to the Hall just to pick one up. It just seems like a massive wasted opportunity. Like mostly, your weapons have rarities and upgrades applied to them, and you can re-roll these stats from the menu or by visiting Penguin, and when you do, you unlock a trophy. Can I overhaul this shit? Ooh, trophy. You get a trophy for that shit. Nice. I overhaul my ass. So it turns out you unlock about half of the trophies for just playing the actual game and completing the story. Through it you also unlock plenty of upgrades. So my next trophy was for unlocking Lex Luthor's company's style of weapons. I tell you what, I've seen so many versions of Amanda Waller at this point, but this one is an absolute control freak and I think she has a bit of daddy issues.
In my home, father would never.
I'm your daddy now, Shark.
Oh my.
That goes for all of you. I'm your daddy.
God damn, yes daddy. Sorry daddy. After our dad telling us off, we thought it would be best to get back at it and clear up some of the missions, and with that came a trophy for reaching level 10. Okay, so despite the ropey start, I can't lie, me and Zach were actually having a great time. Alright, let's do this. Oh, nice. Oh, that was cool. The story starts off strong, with great cutscenes filled with humour and tension, and I was enjoying the traversal of the game. The variety in traversal definitely keeps the game interesting for a considerable amount of time. Because of this, and the hate I'd seen this game getting on Twitter, which I'd been exposed to firsthand, I decided to take to YouTube to defend it and write out a community post. But yeah, I think I was a little bit preemptive with sharing my opinion, but generally 7 or 8 hours in, I was having a good time, but it really wasn't going to last.
What's it like to be filled with dread? Dreadfully.
Alright, so I do want to mention some of the bugs in the game. You've already seen a fair few that I've had, like the servers going down, cars vanishing, and the game would randomly just kick you out of a session with friends, which would mean you'd lose your mission progress and XP, which is a little annoying. To be honest, I can forgive bugs. It's not the end of the world. I did start playing the game 2 days from launch, but these did exist for up to a week after the game came out. But to be honest, as long as there isn't bugs that stop me playing the game, like the servers going down,
Fuck my life.
I'm actually okay with it. But there's this one weird bug where when I dashed with Captain Boomerang, his clothes would just completely vanish and fall off.
Oh, great heavens!
Got no pay, I've got no clothes on! You know what? This calls for a quick little dance. Oh yeah. But then again, this is a problem we all can relate to.
Shortly after my arrival, my clothes accidentally fell off. At that moment, and landed inside one of the...
So I've only covered a few story beats from the first 90 minutes of the story, and I don't want to spoil any more for you. The story is the strongest part of the game and the main reason to actually play it. But what I will say is there's a point in the story where it just drops off a fucking cliff. When you beat the game, you're actually left in this weird situation where you have to wait for the seasons to unlock so you can visit other realities so you can fully complete the story. And I can't lie, it's very, very underwhelming. And it's just such an odd and poor way to finish a story. The story is actually so good and engaging for the first 90%, but then it just doesn't end. I know they needed some way to introduce new content, but they still should have had the full single player story finish, which it doesn't. I am making this video in the month the game released. Maybe in 6 to 12 months it'll be a different story when all the DLC is out, but the idea that you can buy a game at launch and it actually won't finish the story is really, really poor. And not only that, how many players are actually going to stick through all 3 seasons to get the real ending? Because it's not even like Arkham Knight, where it kind of ends anyway, then there's a secret ending. This just doesn't really end. You don't actually solve anything. It's totally bizarre and stupid. But nonetheless, by the time this has ended, I had smashed through quite a fair few trophies. I do quickly want to touch on Batman in the game while keeping it very vague. Who's not pushing? Zach just ran away. Classic.
Oh, I was looking to see if he was...
He's through the glass, man, you fool. The game does take place in the Arkhamverse, and with it being Kevin Conroy's last outing due to him passing away. I'll never forget you, Kevin. This has led to a lot of hate around the game, saying they've ruined Batman. Personally, I do not agree with this. This is one of Conroy's best game performances as Batman.
You four really have been sent to your deaths.
Damn, Batman's chatting shit to us, isn't he? But honestly, superheroes turned evil is one of the most common storylines used throughout all the comics, and Rocksteady have just taken a previously established storyline and added their own twist on it. And because it shows Batman in a negative light, it doesn't mean they've ruined him at all. Personally, I think it's great we got to see Kevin Conroy as Batman one final time, regardless of the Batman he played. So the story's over. What's left? Well, I did have a few more side missions to clear for trophies, but I'm not going to show them all because you get the idea. After this, all I had left was leveling up characters to level 30 and then squad level to 50. The squad level happens when you reach level 30. With a character, you can continue to level up the whole squad, which means essentially you've got to get level 80. I had some Riddler trophies to do. Some of the trophies I'm going to explain in a moment, and also some trophies relating to mastery levels, which is essentially the actual post-game. It basically consists of your choice of 3 incursion missions and 2 others that appear periodically, but one of them is just a final boss fight on repeat, which was absolute ass anyway, so I don't know why you choose to do it, but at least you get a trophy for beating the first incursion mission. But you do have to unlock Mastery level 20 for some of the gear related trophies. Every time you beat 1 or 2 of these incursion missions, you unlock the next Mastery level and so on. So yeah, here comes the grind. And at this point, it was time for the descent. I feel like I've taught you a bit of good and a bit of bad about my experience trying to platinum this game up until now. But one singular thing exists within this game. This one thing highlights completely all of the flaws, shortcomings, and complete lack of content in this game. And that one thing is the goddamn platinum trophy.
You look like a good Joe.
So with just the grind remaining for the last 10 or so trophies, the cracks were really starting to show in the game, along with my dwindling enjoyment in the game. Rant incoming. Okay, so I've just got the trophy for maxing out Harley Quinn, so I've maxed out all 4 characters to level 30. So I've only got a few trophies left, and I'm absolutely shocked at the amount of grind that is required for these last few trophies. So here's the PlayStation trophies. So support squad contract, they are only about 5 to 10 minutes long, but even throughout me playing this and doing it to get the characters to level 30 each, I've only done about 45, so I've got to do another 55 of the squad contracts on the map, which is quite a lot. I've also then I've got to still do the collectibles, which is still another 2 hours. I don't know why they've even put these in, it just seems completely stupid. And then we've got to get my squad to level 50. Once you get all the characters level 30, they all continue to level up as a squad. So you can play any character and you'll still level up. And I'm level 3. So I have to level up 47 more times. And I also have to get the infamy sets. Now this is where it gets really, really sweaty. So I found this really confusing. I still don't think it's particularly clear. There's a trophy for getting a tier 1 full set, tier 2 and tier 3. Well, that's just having 3 of them equipped, I think. So I have to get my Infinite Crisis rank to 60 plus to have a chance of unlocking that. And as you can see, after 10 or 15 hours of post game, I'm only level 23. So I still need to play again, probably another 30 or 40 levels. But these levels are different. You have to play these purple ones, and you have to, they cost something called P. So you have to do the contract missions to unlock enough P to do these missions. I have enough, but there's only 3 or 4 of them. So I have to keep playing the same 3 or 4 levels for probably about 10 hours. I'm probably going to have to do the same 3 or 4 levels now, about 15 times each to get to the level I need to get at, which I think is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I think this grind is worse than Avengers, which, you know, the 50 Hives missions was a ball ache because each mission was 20 minutes. These levels aren't as long, but to level up your Infinite Crisis level, you have to do it on the hardest difficulty every time. So you've got to spend time looking at your loadout, building the loadouts, and it just is a ball ache. You can't do it on easy, essentially. Now, I'm not saying it's particularly hard, because if you pay attention to your loadouts, you pay attention to building up the best character you can, it's not really difficult, but it's still quite challenging. So that's basically what I'm going to do now. I'm going to try and get all these contracts. I'm going to try and get all these support missions done, and I'm going to try and level up my Infinite Crisis stuff. And yeah, I just want to show you as well, like, the story ends on a bit of a not really an end, which I have to say is really underwhelming. Now, in theory, you have all these worlds. However, so in theory, it's like you have a multiverse classic and there's all these different worlds you can visit, but because the game's just been out for a couple of days, then there's actually only one world, so they're going to introduce more if the game live service actually works. But right now, there's only one world, and it's the Bane one. So yeah, you get some cool weapons, but like at the launch of the game, there's only one planet for the post game, and they said there's going to be 13 to 14. So now it's like, what, people who actually buy the game at launch, yeah, you get a 20-hour story, but the post game is completely pointless. If I bought this and I wasn't going for the platinum, I'm not going to spend 20 or 30 hours doing the same 5 levels over and over again. For a live service game to work, it has to come out strong, and we all know with the controversy, it hasn't come out strong, but then they can still deliver on it with content, but the content is not here, and I thought that the season 1 would be out now. So it's like, okay, yeah, you buy the game and then you have access to season 1, but you don't. All you've got is this content at the end, and unless it's going to come out in the next couple of days, and by the time this video comes out, maybe season 1's actually out. But right now, as of the 3rd of February, and I got this game a couple of days early, there's just not enough content to keep people going at all, and it's just replaying the same levels over and over again. It's just a bit mid, and I'm going to have to grind this shit out now. Okay, I wasn't letting this game beat me.
It's like he's possessed.
Possessed, brainwashed, I don't care.
So it's time for the mammoth grind to begin. First I decided to tackle the contracts. These are essentially challenges to complete in game, such as killing certain enemies with certain weapons, inflicting enemies with certain afflictions. You get the idea. While I could have worked on these alongside other trophies, because my main build was with Captain Boomerang, I could only manage to complete a couple of them each time because most of them were tied to kills with weapons with other characters. So I basically just spent 3 to 4 hours completing these while I was making my way around the map looking for collectibles. Yay! Finally! Fucking hell. Alongside these contracts, there's also a trophy for completing 10 Raising Hell levels, which are essentially another set of active contracts, and when you complete them all, Brainiac will send down an elite squad to face you. I mean, they aren't elite at all, they take 2 seconds to kill, but whatever. This trophy is quite annoying because once you complete all the contracts, you actually have to stand still and wait 30 to 60 seconds for the game to register that you've actually completed the challenge and send the enemies down. And if you're moving while it's trying to do this, it will just come up on the screen that you've evaded the hit squad, and the challenges will just reset and have to do it again. It's quite a flawed design, but I managed to get the trophy. So next was the collectibles, which come in the form of Riddler puzzles and Riddler trophies, just like other games in the Arkham series. I actually thought these weren't too bad initially because they appear in the map, but it turns out that they only appear in the map if you've literally travelled right next to them. So this meant that even though I only had 9 missing, I had to use a full walkthrough guide to find them, and I found this so insufferable. It's definitely my personal issue with collectibles. I know some people enjoy them, and it's not a criticism of this game, but rather all games that include trophies tied to them. I just find them so boring, and I've done collectibles with video guides for hundreds of games now, and it just makes you question why they're even in the game and why they're required for the platinum. Yes, they lengthen the time, and also it wasn't too bad, but if you've done it before, you know how bad following a video guide is. It just sucks ass. Although I had been working on the mastery levels in solo, me and my fellow Suicidal Squad members wanted to get the level 20 mastery trophy together, and my god, it was quite a challenge. The mastery levels are actually much easier in solo due to there being way less enemies on the screen. Now, in my defense for this footage, this may be a bit of a cop-out, but I think it's important to note, I love looter shooters and I enjoy making my builds as strong as possible, and because of this, I was constantly building my character up and making changes after every mission, and so was Shadow, who was part of the squad member. However, Zack and Spedgy, well, yeah. In their defense, they were only up to mastery level 3 at the time we tried this, so they didn't have time to build up their gear and loadouts. And there's a lesson here. This is so much harder trying to co-op these levels when you're all at different parts of the endgame grind. So we definitely made it so much harder than it needed to be. In terms of difficulty, Rocksteady clearly ran out of ideas on how to make this more difficult as the mastery levels progressed, because their logic is just spawn 10 big brutes in with 4 health bars that are basically invincible when you get one of the health bars down.
Getting fucking battered here. This is fucking insane, man. Fuck you, man.
Ah. It just means when you get one down, there's just 6 more who are still in the middle of an attack phase, and they seem to have this homing leap. You can be anywhere on the map and they'll find you and crush you. And alongside that, they just decide to spawn in giant red lasers that hit you from the sky, and there's just so many on the screen, they're basically unavoidable. And as you can see by this footage, it is goddamn chaotic.
Oh, I'm down as well. I'm out of action now. Godspeed. I'm done.
But we did finally get it.
Made it. Ah, right. Bravo. Bravo. Aha! The Final Frontier trophy. I'm not going any further. You've all jumped on the back of my grinding from yesterday.
With the mastery level trophies complete, I only had 3 trophies left. For equipping a full set of Infamy level 3 gear, which could only be earned by completing mastery level 20 or higher missions, And the next was a sort of missable trophy you can get quite early on if you know where to look, and it's called History Repeats Itself. It's quite a throwback. It's essentially for activating the tour of the museum, which gives you an overview of the Batman Arkham trilogy. It's a nice touch. And the final trophy I had before I get the platinum was reaching level 50 with my squad. So after 51 hours of playing this game, 30 hours of which was spent doing the same levels in the cleanup and the mastery levels, I was only at level 43. I did some calculations and estimated it was probably going to take me another 20 incursion missions at mastery level 20 plus to finally get level 50. At this point I'd already played these levels over 100 times and I thought there had to be a faster way. And it turns out there's a little farming method that has probably now been patched. This method could only be done if you hadn't finished the final car subquest, which I had. Thankfully one of the boys, Spedgy, hadn't done it, because unlike me, who was convinced in the first 20 hours this game was amazing, he said it was dumped from the get-go. But thankfully I was able to jump in with him on this final mission. In this mission you have to collect samples by killing enemies, but if you just keep killing enemies and don't hand them in, the enemies spawn forever, until the game crashes because it can't handle there being so much stuff on the screen. I actually have leveled up to 45. How long has that taken? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? Yeah? Wow. And there's me been grinding away for fucking hours and hours. You might think this is kind of cheating, but to be honest, I'd given this game way too much of my time already, and I completed absolutely everything in this game that it had to offer, and it was really breaking my spirit, and I didn't fancy playing the same levels I'd already played 100 times, another 20 to 25 times. Oh! Yes! Did it! Trial by blood. Which brings me to the beginning of the end. I am very glad that the end has come for this game, I'll tell you that. But me. Can't believe I tweeted saying this game was good, and I put it on my YouTube community post saying this game was good. Alright, the platinum was mine, but wait. My experience with this game was so up and down, it was so confusing, it was so weird. I have to break it down with you in more detail.
Look, I'm not gonna make a big deal of it.
Oh, thanks. We really appreciate it.
But I've prepared a speech.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
Alright, so I got the platinum in Suicide Squad. Usually I end the video in 20 seconds from getting the platinum. But there's a lot to unpack with this game, and I feel like I have to address a lot of it. Firstly, it took me around 54 to 55 hours to get the platinum in Suicide Squad, and I think that's probably 4 or 5 times as long as any reviewer spent with a game. You know, most reviewers spend 10 hours, job done, give their opinion, and then move on. And I feel like I said, like with my stupid post, I don't think 10 hours is long enough to get a real good grasp of this game, or any game for that matter, because I do think at the 10 hour mark, I was thoroughly enjoying the game. The first 2/3 of the story are really, really good. It does, however, drop off a cliff. I can pretty much guarantee that 90% of the gamers who buy the game at launch, or buying it now, they will never find the true ending, because no one's going to stick around. Even if it's 3 or 4 worlds a season, no one's going to stick around long enough to see the actual ending, so most people are going to have to just Google the actual ending. We don't know what's coming, but it just seems like a really, really weird mismatch. And yes, multiverse is a tiresome idea. I get why they put it in, because of this whole live service thing, but they should have concluded the story. I do think in the first 10-15 hours here, there's enough variety to enjoy the game. You have 4 characters. Yes, they all play quite similarly, but there's enough there, especially in the traversal, which is some of the most fun traversing I've actually had. It's not as good as Spider-Man, but I would say take away Spider-Man, I think it's absolutely stellar traversal, and every character is really different in that respect, and I think it's really, really fun to start with. But the Platinum Trophy just highlights everything wrong with this game and gaming as a live service at launch. When you beat the game, it might take you 10 to 15 hours depending on what side stuff you do. When you've actually beaten all the side missions, and there's only about 15 of them, of these like upgrade ones, you're left with the end game, and the end game is literally just, at this stage, because there's only one world, it is just a recycling of 3 main missions over and over again, with 2 missions that come in periodically, and that is literally it. You have to play these same levels over and over again, and yes, I was thankful that I was able to boost from level 42 or 43 to 50, and if I hadn't done that, it'd save me probably 6 hours. But if you're playing this naturally, like, how much can you actually spend playing these levels over and over again? Like, if you're not going for the platinum, there's no way people are going to enjoy the gameplay loop enough to keep playing this game. Like, I just can't see it happening. I personally wouldn't. And as someone who earns platinum trophies, this is definitely a game for me that if I wasn't making a video for, there's no way I would have got the platinum trophy. After 20-25 hours, there's no way I would have kept doing this, because it's literally the same stuff over and over again. But not only that, I had to do these 3 levels to get to level 42 about 40 to 50 to 60 times. So I was getting a lot of loot, and I realised I was getting literally the same loot every time. There must only be 15 to 20 weapons and mods per slot, which is just nowhere near enough at launch. This game is clearly not made to be platinumed now. In 6 months' time, in a year's time, when there's more worlds out, I can totally see it being potentially a more enjoyable experience, but at launch, it is just an absolute dirty slog. This game does really struggle with mission variety. I know a lot of games do, but when you're literally just jumping from mission to mission, it is so clear that there's actually only about 4 or 5 different missions throughout. In the story, you do not notice as much because of the cutscenes dragging you through, but when you're just playing the game for the gameplay, it is clear there's so little variation here and it seems downright lazy. I know a lot of people don't really care about looter shooters. I'm quite an avid looter shooter fan. The fact that the end game is basically set up entirely around these afflictions, ice, fire, electricity and craze, although it's an interesting idea, it is completely irrelevant and not related to the actual Suicide Squad. It doesn't actually match the story at all. Although it's fun, it does seem like to base your entire end game system on this thing that has nothing to do with the superheroes is a little bit odd. So I said at the start of the video I was going to try and formulate some sort of opinion on this game properly by the end of this video. I can only say I don't think it's an awful game, and I do think people who are jumping down the throat of it saying it's awful, it's unplayable, that's an extreme exaggeration. There's still some fun to be had here, but it's definitely not worth the £70. Well, actually not worth the £100 I paid for it. Platinum Trophy is absolutely disgusting. Unless there's 10 different types of missions, then I can't recommend it at all. I think it's an absolutely, unfortunately, like a lot of games, it has some really good moments. The game is stunning, the traversal's excellent, the gameplay's okay, the loot system leaves room to be desired, but it's okay. It's just not good enough at all. And this is a problem with these live service games, like we are just not getting enough content at launch, and it's not enough, especially when you end the story on a cliffhanger. It is just abysmal. I would probably give this game a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And I would not recommend this platinum at all. This is, to be honest, even though I played about 30 hours of it with friends, the 20 hours I spent by myself playing this game was fucking awful. After about 5 hours, I was just sick, I was bored. Although this only took 55 hours, it felt like it was about 100. Yeah. So that's my thoughts. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. I've been up and I've been down, but ultimately, it's pretty poop. Thanks for watching.